All right, you are now tuned into the Rotated Views podcast. I am your host, Jimmylee Velez. I'm here with Goose, Heck, Gabe, and Jason. Right away, in this episode, the crew welcomes special guest Jason Peters. We cover topics that range from content creation, journalism, writing, effects of COVID-19, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Steve Jobs and Thomas Edison. Guys, if you're new, thank you for joining us. Don't forget to download and subscribe. We drop a new episode every Tuesday morning for your listening pleasure. Kicking things off, Jason, thanks for joining us, man. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. First of all, I love the professionalism. I love the big mixer. I love your radio voice. I love everything about it. I go on a lot of podcasts, and you guys have mic stands. There's a table. It's not 45 guys with backpacks. We're hanging out. We're having a good time. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Bristol Borough is beautiful. If you're listening to this, it's been slept on.
Yeah.
Nobody has told me that it is this nice down here. It's right along the water. Yeah. Come to Bristol Borough.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. Appreciate that. All right, so we'll jump right into it. So for those of us who do not know who you are and what you do, let us know.
Okay, my name is Jason N. Peters. I got to use the N because of Jason Peters on the Eagles.
Right.
And growing up in Philly, I got to get that Google search right. So use that N. Google Jason N. Peters and then keywords like podcast. Let's fix my SEO. So first of all, I guess first and foremost, I'm a writer.
Yes, sir.
So I have a book that I wrote and published when I was 22. That's out there and in the world. I'm also a podcast host. I have a show called 2100, which is an audio time capsule to the people of the year 2100. If you've ever heard a podcast like This American Life or Radio Lab,
that's right.
It's kind of edited like that.
Okay.
So it's not like a standard like radio. This is what I would call a radio podcast,
sure.
As opposed to mine, which is more of like I don't even know, but it's a different type of format. It's more chopped. There's music. I get independent artists to make music for it. I get all sorts of weird guests, anything from like politicians to like national champion basketball players to like inventors. I have the inventor of the foam finger. He's a reoccurring guest on my show. Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
The man who invented the foam finger. And then you guys ever use Google Chrome and the internet goes out and there's that dinosaur?
Yes.
You ever press the space bar?
No.
Because it like functions like a little game or something, right?
Little game. So I got on my show, the first episode of season 2, the guy who designed the dinosaur for Google and then created the game.
Oh,
that's
awesome.
Technically, that game is the most played video game in human history.
Wow. What?
Wow.
Yeah, because countries all throughout the world don't have internet for like large swaths of the day, so they just press the space bar and the no internet button. So the numbers of people that play that game is astronomical.
Wow.
And nobody's talking about this. So I got stuff like that.
Dropping knowledge over here with the birds aren't real hat. I mean, this is crazy already.
No, because you got to think about it. There's so many people in countries like India, Brazil, and China that just straight up are stuck on that Google Chrome screen.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you don't have stuff and you got a laptop that's just not connected to anything, hit that space bar, dinosaur starts running.
Yeah.
Now you and your like brothers and sisters have something to do, and it's just it's stuff like that you don't really think of. Like, and then on top of that, I'm also a journalist, but that's more recent. I write for Philly Weekly, the newspaper, as well as Green Philly, Broken Philly, and the Philadelphia Citizen. So I got a lot on my plate. I'm doing bits and pieces everywhere.
That's awesome.
So you call your podcast 2100 or 2100?
210. It's however you want to say it. It's just the numbers and vernacular, however you do it.
I like it because I like the word time capsule. And so you're kind of capturing, what's currently, the current events so that folks during that era can come back and kind of have a real insight, not a history book.
The gimmick per se of the show is that you guys are not my target demographic.
Right.
So like anyone listening in 2020, cool, whatever, but you're not the point.
Right.
But then it's for the people of 2100 to listen to. So the idea is it's filled with little Easter eggs, like the music I use, the types of people I talk to, and the episode. So like, for example, it can be, I try to be artsy, and I'm a little artsy fartsy. I know I don't look like it, but I got a lot of that in me.
I saw the tube socks with the stripes.
That's fair. That's very fair. So I have an episode called like homelessness and roller coasters. Because like I started doing a homelessness episode to explain that like homelessness is like completely preventable because there's enough money. It exists. So the whole episode's kind of about that, and I started talking to homeless people, started talking to homeless experts, do all the research, and I go, oh, wow, this is really depressing. It's a horrible episode. No one would have fun listening to this. So you go, how do you make that palatable? So you do an episode called Homelessness and Roller Coasters. So in the beginning of the episode, you pitch people on, we're going to talk about roller coasters. It's going to be very fun, and then you do like an audio drop of like the roller coaster downhill, and then we throw homelessness at you. And then I tell you, we'll get to the whole roller coaster stuff after we talk about homelessness. And then I even like, I interview a homeless guy and I play some of the audio and I just go, you hear how sad that was? I'm not just going to talk to homeless people and exploit them and play their audio because that's horrible. It's bad. You want to just hear people go, I'm sad, I sleep on the street. No, it's not fun to listen to. It's depressing, but you have to convey that message and that idea. And I chose the dichotomy of homelessness and roller coasters because there's nothing more extreme and wasteful than a roller coaster to a society. I love roller coasters, and that's the hypocrisy of it. I am not some guy telling you, hey, I'm better than you. I'm saying I got season passes to Six Flags.
Did you ever go on the Viper?
In Philly. Yeah, I've been on all the roller coasters. I love roller coasters, and there's fun and there's value in them, but they are these billion-dollar monstrosities made of steels that we use our best engineers to create. So instead of using our best engineers to do anything else, they're like, how can we throw a man as fast as possible without his head dislodging from his neck? So, so you put things through a lens, and then you explain it to the people of the future, and even attempting to explain things to the people of the future rather than the people of the present changes how you talk about it. So there's no point in talking about a lot of things because a lot of stuff is going to be underwater. So a lot of stuff's just going to be underwater. So I'm very vapid about that. I'm like anytime Miami comes up, I say, oh, that's what Miami used to be a thing. Or like Atlantic City used to be a thing. Like, it's like this thing we really liked. But
Atlantic City for sure.
Oh, anything that's just like almost literally just an island that's just stuck out in the ocean and not that high up. Anywhere where they have to pump sand in every fall because the ocean's creeping up.
Erosion and everything.
Yeah, if you have to pump sand into a beach, maybe it should be.
So do you believe Atlantis was once a thing?
The idea of Atlantis is a great idea because there are tons of cities that are just underwater now, and there's tons of things that cause cities to go underwater. So
for sure,
in a way, Atlantis does exist in many forms, but the specificity of calling it Atlantis is not quite.
I like that. And so I'm assuming with a major in marketing, some clickbait titles come into play, right? Where it was more attracting to have specific titles versus this is going to be a boring podcast and how can I
trust me, man. I arrived at this show 2100 after having previous shows. I was on college radio. I had a podcast that show reconverted to a podcast, and it was unsuccessful because it stunk because I was 18, boring and drunk. So then I did another one. I studied abroad in London, and I made a show called Long Gone, and that had a bit more of a format. It would be me talking to people from other cultures about very specific topics, and I learned how American I truly was through talking to these other people about their cultures, and it was not a hit, but people listened to it, and it had glimpses of positivity. So then stumbled on 2100, and it just rocket ship took off. We hit the iTunes charts in like 8 different countries. Little blurbs in like local, like making some press. Being able to get that to then book higher guests, and then slowly and steadily we're building like this little thing that is gaining reputation that's positive. Like I'm working with people that I have no business working with. So like for example, I went to Niagara Falls, and I interviewed the mayor of Niagara Falls, Canada, and the mayor of Niagara Falls, New York, in the same day, and I asked them the same 21 questions as a compare and contrast of the two cities and towns that share the same border, as like an analysis of Canada and America. And in doing that, I also left them both with time capsules to open in the year 2100, physical time capsules I made, which can only be read or understood if they come together in the year 2100 to bring them together.
Very
So
cool.
I chopped up this message that I wrote,
That's awesome.
and the only way that they can do it is if the two sides are still peaceful and still. So I did it under
is
the
cool.
expectations of you never know what's going to happen with nation states. In that episode, I talk about borders, and God knows what 2100 is going to be like. So I like to just leave a little chaos in the future.
I like that.
Yeah, and because the note is pretty, it says some stuff in there. I'm not soft at all.
Yeah.
I'm going to be saying it with my chest. I'll be dead by then. So I left no regrets in that letter.
That's awesome. All right, so you graduated. Gabe and I also graduated from Tampa University.
Yep.
And with marketing. So how did the writing part come into play?
Okay, so not quite marketing. I was comm studies, which
Okay.
is kind of just like a whatever degree. You go to comm studies because you don't want to do math, and that's what I was doing. And I was a transfer student. I did 2 years at East Stroudsburg.
Okay.
And then I did 2 years at Temple, and then a semester in London.
Nice.
So I always knew I wanted to do something in media, hence the radio show. And then I needed money, and marketing was where money was.
Yeah.
I applied to every public radio station in the country, didn't get a job. Applied to every journalism, everything, didn't get any job. And then all of a sudden I go, screw this, I'll just do marketing to get my funds up. Try to hack out this creative writer stuff on my own. And that has taken off,
Nice.
which is, I had a chip on my shoulder, and then everyone told me no, and then the chip got deeper, and then now it's just Rage Against the Machine. So now I'm just fighting everyone. I've already tweeted everything that could get me yelled at by every media company. So I just come at everyone's necks, and I'm ready to be the thorn in people's side in this city.
Yeah.
Because you said no. You said no. You had your choice, and you said no, so burn it all down. But, yeah, so, yeah, just a lot of anger. Yeah, a lot of anger got me where I am.
That's cool though. Well, at least you applied it to something positive, right?
Oh, well,
And
what am I going to do, mope?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not cut from that cloth.
And so, explain a little bit about how Jason at Jason.com became a thing. Was it an offspring of that?
Well, yeah, that website has to exist because I'm a weird guy. I do a lot of stuff. Like, so I told you about the podcast, the journalism stuff, but I also I manage an artist. I shoot music videos. I wrote a book. I'm heavily involved with local activist movements. I'm a weird move around type of guy. So I needed a website like Jason to tie it all together. You can go here.
The umbrella.
I get to say what I am in a paragraph, and then here's all this stuff. Here's the proof of the thing I said.
Yeah.
So if you just see my stuff on Twitter or Instagram, I've got a video where I spray lemon in my eyes.
Yeah.
It's this video where I explain at the front of the video. It's a 1-minute video. I made it just like a little artsy fartsy idea. It is at the beginning of the video I say, do not watch this video. By the end of the video, I'm going to squirt a lemon in my eyes.
Yeah.
And I talk about how every day you sit on your phone and you watch stuff that only hurts your psyche and it makes you upset and it's bad for you. So please do not watch me squirt a lemon in my eyes. And I squirt a lemon in my eyes. And it hurts and it's very disturbing and it's not fun to watch. But I had that idea that I was sitting on and I had nowhere to put it. So you just make it, you throw it on Instagram, and there's some thought to it. It's daring, it's weird, and no one else is doing it. That's why I wanted to do it.
Sure.
So that's the only reason my whole career exists, is I see holes in gaps that I go, this is a hole in a gap I could fill.
Yeah.
I've got a movie that revolves, I got movies. Folks,
you just remembered.
I got a lot of stuff that just, so I'm making a TV show. We start filming in October, 4 episodes of a TV show idea. And the idea is then, I'm 25 years old. By then I will have had a podcast, relatively successful, a book that's acclaimed, cover stories for Philly Weekly, the TV show, and then you just make a video saying, hey, look, I did all the things, now let me make a movie. And then you send that to all the studios, you just put money behind it, throw it on Instagram,
Nice.
and that'll drive enough people. So there's a lot of schemes and general ideas, but you have to have already put in the work, and for some reason I had. It's just getting it all organized, and that's
Sure.
what the website is.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm intrigued with the creative process. So you initially said you find holes, you go through maybe some openings, something that an opportunity, let's just say,
Yes.
right? And you venture off where maybe not most people would.
Absolutely.
And then you also said you had a chip on your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
So explain your creative process. Does it just happen, or is there a time where you kind of sit, upon the Delaware River over here and you get inspired by, the waves? Or is it just more of everyday thing, you get inspired and boom, you go?
It is a combination of things. I'm going to say something that's going to make me sound like such a noodle, like artsy-fartsy, it's going to make me sound like a hippie.
Yeah.
But if you live a certain lifestyle and have a general curiosity to you,
Mm-hmm.
if you carry a certain awareness and a curiosity with you, and you are a certain type of person. Me, I knew I wanted to be a journalist, I wanted to be a writer, but enough people told me no, that I had to start a podcast, and I had to get good at marketing, and now I have all these other skills, and now people are letting me be a journalist, thank God. But I had to learn all those other skills to get there. It's a really strange dichotomy of how to, like, getting inspired. For example, I'm the inventor of the foam finger. I was just looking at the foam finger, and I started laughing at it. I go, what a stupid thing this is.
Yeah.
Why does it exist? Imagine something so useless.
Yeah. Because
it is. It's trash. It's garbage. Yeah. But we like it, and it's fun, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. I'm not saying I don't feel any way, but objectively, a foam finger is a dumb thing. Right. So I saw it, and I was like, where is the origins of this? Who made this? And I found the name, and then I tracked down the man. And then I talked to him, and I asked him about his life. And next thing you know, he's, like, commenting on my Instagram pictures, and he's a really great guy. We've got a bunch of his stuff in the time capsule in Niagara Falls. He's going to live forever. But then there's more aggressive stuff. Like, I'm really fortunate in my journalism career to be a freelance writer who hates the media, because I will not do anything that I don't want to do, because I don't have to, because I already haven't had to give an inch so far. Absolutely. So I'm not going to give an inch, and I'm going to die not giving an inch unless I get $1 million. $1 million, couple inches. Okay. Not a lot of inches, but I'll sell, like, beef jerky, stuff I like. I'll do commercials for stuff I like. That's a couple inches. But in journalism, you usually get assigned stories by an editor. You have a 9-to-5. You have people telling you what to do. Gotcha. Me, I see something. I email a bunch of editors. I go, hey, this is what I got. If you want me to follow these breadcrumbs, let's negotiate a contract. And then they say yes or no. Right now I'm working on a story about homelessness. I did a story about gun violence. It was the cover page. Talking to people that you can't talk to. There's a certain cloth you have to be cut from to be in the media. And you want to know what taught me that lesson? I was offered $16,000 as a salary to move to Cedar Rapids, Denver, to be on television as a journalist.
Wow.
$16,000. What could you do with I would have to work 2 other jobs. What kind of journalism could I do, let alone look acceptable to be on TV? Right. I got to move to Colorado, so that leaves you with 2 options. You either have to be funded by rich parents, or you have to be a savant of saving money, like a financial guru. You have to be like a crypto kid that could move himself out. But that's not what journalism is. Journalism, it's a lot of people who, there's other ways to get in. I'm just a little rah-rah. I'm a little more active than a journalist.
So I used to, I had, when me and my wife were getting married, I had to get multiple jobs myself just to stack up to, pay for the wedding or whatever. And one of them was a cleaning job. And so it was actually at the Bucks County Courier-Times. And so I was just simple, dude, just getting their trash cans. They had nothing in it. It was just literally paperwork, blah, 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 and just kept it moving. Easy. But what I found fascinating in a cleaning job, you have to go in a typical after hour, so anytime after 6 p.m., but it's the Courier Times, so these guys, the place never closes down. And I remember getting there, and also dudes were just getting on their shift. A lot of them were sports writers, because basketball in the West Coast, you have to stay up later here just to kind of give the, whatever. And I found it fascinating. These guys were creative at that time, so to speak. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, I was exhausted. And I'm like, they're just getting their day started. So definitely a shift is one thing, but to have that creative process to actually, for it to make sense and not just people read numbers, but make a real story out of something.
It's strange. Right now I'm commissioned more than I ever have, so I've been balancing a lot. So I have like today I talked to a lifeguard, and then later in the day, who was my 12 o'clock call? I had a 12 o'clock call and a 10. Yeah, some lady trying to get me to join some network, and it's a lot to balance. I was saying to a friend, I need an intern, but I am broke. Yeah. I do not. I work multiple jobs. I work at a steak shop just to make sure I have the rent. Yeah. So if the freelance dries up, I still have a shift 2 times a week to make sure the money's right.
Absolutely.
Because I still got loans. I got
steak shop?
Phillips Steaks down in South Philly. Yeah, it's one of the traditional ones. But that's the pandemic, man. Yeah. I got my dream job. I got offered to be the editor of a newspaper, the Northeast Times.
Oh wow.
First day of work was March 16th. Office shut down, no job.
Wow.
I'm supposed to start late August, but that I don't trust that I'll just get that. You can't put all your stock in it, so I just foot on the gas. Yeah. George Floyd protests break out. I cover it for free. Yeah. Was covering it for free the first week, and then one day I'm out covering the protests, and this I just get a call from a guy who runs a YouTube outlet called Status Coup. He goes, "Hey, we see the work you're doing. Do you want to go live for us? We'll give you X dollars. Can you make video packages?" So one thing fails, one thing comes up. Now I've got this YouTube gig. I'm more commissioned than ever. I did in the pandemic. I've had 3 cover stories or something like that. Yeah. So stuff's hitting. It's not hitting the way it's supposed to, but nothing ever happens the way it's supposed to.
Sure.
But yeah, so I don't even know what the question is. I ramble.
No. It's all good. So when you go from one thing to another, you're offered kind of like your dream job. Where does one go from here? Do you just keep producing content? Obviously, you have a movie or a TV show coming up. You just keep pumping out content until something lands?
Media till 40, politician.
Yeah.
Media till 40, politician. I'm going to be in media until I'm 40, and then I'm going to be a politician. And you tell people young so they take you seriously. Yeah. Because it's easy to write people off, especially someone who comes from, like, right now I'm living in an apartment, I'm working at a cheesesteak shop. Yeah. I'm 25, and I'm going to be a senator, and or a congressman. Yeah. And I got schemes and plans, and I got everything I'm doing now is teaching me how to do that. Yeah. I'm studying local politics as I report on it. I'm watching what these people do. And we all know what they do. We have the internet. Yeah. But now I get to go to city council. I get to talk to these people to their face. Today I said to a man in city council, why are there vacant Philadelphia Housing Authority houses? I get to ask that. Homeless people don't get to ask that. Yeah. So I get to kind of be the voice for folks that don't get to stick their thumb in people's eye. Yeah. I'm the thumb in people's eye because I'm as mad as other people. So let's talk about it.
Yeah. So are you? Is it? But the difference, though, is there's some people who play devil's advocate just to get content, right? Mm-hmm. And there's people who like this, whatever, trigger other people. You're actually you're doing it for real.
People get triggered. You know how many people hate honest news? Absolutely. Oh, trust me, people hate me. They don't like the things I have to say because that's who cares? I don't care what anyone has to say about anything. I don't care at all. Sure. I hope you hate it, guys. I sincerely don't care because to me, eliciting a reaction is a win. Yeah. If I get you mad, if I get you happy. And that's not good. That's not a good society to live in. However, it is the society we live in. But to elicit a reaction at all means that you did the work. You did something that could make a person react. So if you draw someone in who hates what you read, that means someone who disagrees with you read the thing you wrote, which is good. Maybe it didn't resonate them and it got them mad, but maybe it'll help them connect the dots later on. So it's just breadcrumbs. There's enough stuff on the internet that I'm happy to be competing. So hate on me, please.
So there was recently, with the whole pandemic, obviously sports came to a halt, and one of the first sports to come back into play was MMA, and the UFC specifically kind of led the wave in that. And recently, I think it was the last year or two, I don't know how long it's been, the contract, but they've contracted with ESPN. Mm-hmm. And ESPN has obviously their own staff and their own reporters or whatever. And a recent article I read I thought was kind of interesting was an ESPN reporters were asking the fighters specific questions that was triggering UFC management, like ticking them off. Like it was about their salaries and stuff like that. Yeah. And then all of a sudden these spokesperson for the UFC is like, you're not asking my fighters anything. And now it's like, well, wait a minute. You guys they're asking legit questions,
You're talking about the PR wall.
Yes.
There's a great wall of PR behind everything. And now, like I said, I studied marketing.
Yeah.
Let's go. I'm familiar with the terminology. So today I told you that was all through an email.
Yeah.
The PR guy. I tell the PR person, this is what I want to ask the councilman. I say, why are there vacant houses? Is there any plan to stop housing from getting more expensive in Philly as we see housing get more expensive? Bang, bang. All these very pointed questions because she didn't like how vague my first email was. Now she can take her pointed questions. They can go as a staff. And they can talk about what we're going to say.
Yeah.
And then when I finally get to talk to the councilman, I'm going to get a call from her. She'll say hi to me, then she'll patch him through. But he's been on the line the whole time, and I know that.
Yeah.
So it's all that. And even to talk to the lifeguard. The lifeguard's through the city. Obviously, the lifeguard I talked to was picked by the PR people. So obviously she had nothing but good stuff to say because they had a conversation before.
Yeah.
This is how life works. If you were going to go talk to someone about your podcast, I bet you'd think about it and be like, hey, guys, don't mention X, Y, Z. So it's kind of second nature, but once you start paying people as a career to do that for you, it just becomes just a little propaganda department. Every company's got one, whether you're Coca-Cola or like a government or like Will Smith. You got PR people that stand up for you, or like a UFC fighter. It's all very weird, and it's all about protecting brand images. It has nothing to do with anything. Everyone should know. You could Google what that guy makes.
Yeah.
But to hear him say it and then click, 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 and then UFC go, why'd he say that? And then in reality, it doesn't matter because it'll get faded in the noise of everyday life anyway.
Sure.
But they don't want to have that 10 minutes of, oh no, they know how much money that TJ Dillashaw makes.
Yeah. For me, I thought it was fascinating because it was almost like that double-edged sword. It's like, wait a second, let's talk about the actual point as to why you even linked up with ESPN, right? Mm-hmm. Was for the additional coverage that you're going to get. And you hit SportsCenter,
there's
right?
no good guy in that battle.
Right.
So it's the UFC, which is, they're not exactly the best, and then ESPN owned by Disney. Yeah. So it's just brands and conglomerates yelling at each other for our amusement.
Yeah.
And you got to block all that out. You got
to. But I thought it was fascinating was with the control. Right?
Oh yeah.
And it was like all of a sudden before they were so used to having the ability to control what was said, what was asked. Mm-hmm. I'm only pointing to this guy and I'm only pointing to this guy. It's kind of like watching like a presidential debate and people get to ask questions.
It's all terrible.
It's all like kind of plotted, planned, right? And so what's your take on control though, right? Because if you're coming in as a freelancer, people want to hear. Well, they want stories covered of what they want to hear, right? And so if you come out of this adjacent, degree or angle, how does that become successful in your eyes?
Oh, like I said, I personally am filling the holes not there.
Yeah.
So you don't like me because I'm Philly Weekly. You don't like me because I'm with Green Philly. You like the stuff I like because you like the stuff I write. You have to be with me or not with me. Absolutely. I am, because of the cavalier nature of the freelance lifestyle, I am like a cowboy. I'm beholden to no brand. A brand is just a brand co-signing me. Yeah. So Philly Weekly co-signed me and they printed my words.
Got it.
But they don't give me health insurance. They pay me a check like a cowboy. Yeah. So I'll take that clout and they'll take my clout and we'll exchange that social value essentially.
Yeah.
So then you just do that here and there. So I do that. I'm in rap videos. I make songs with people. I'm everywhere. So if you like the things I do, follow me and you'll find more. And that's the business model. And it's a promise of quality and not giving you the same garbage that you're getting everywhere else. So I didn't do a COVID episode because I knew everyone was doing a COVID episode. Everyone wants to talk about COVID. So I go, let's talk about something similar to COVID. So the Hahnemann Hospital that shut down and then they didn't let people go there for COVID testing in the city, huge controversy. I go, well, what the heck? What is Hahnemann?
Yeah.
What does that group of noises mean? Who is it named after? What is that? So I do the whole history of the man, Samuel Hahnemann, whole history of the hospital up to COVID, talking about him not letting opening up the hospital, and then ended the show with a little COVID bit. But we talked about health insurance. We talked about the history of how modern medicine was founded through this man who was like a witch doctor, essentially, but ended up having a place in Philly named after him, even though he was doing mostly nothing. But the thing was, a witch doctor could be more successful than a real doctor up until like the early 1900s, because a real doctor would take a mallet and smash your skull, but a witch doctor would be like, eat carrots. And eat carrots is a lot better for you than cracked skull. Sure. So in the end, you'd have like a 50-50 shot with eat carrots and like a 0 to 10% chance with cracked skull.
Yeah. So, and we talked a lot about it's a great.
People don't think about that. We only got smart as a species in like class like 3 years, and we were smart for those 3 years, and then the internet got too big, and now we're all stupid in a different way.
The other highlighted, when you get contracted to or commissioned to do work, recently we were watching, I guess, SportsCenter. I have no idea, and I hate to keep bringing on sports, but it was just something that I found fascinating with brands and marketing and triggering people or hitting topics that bother people. Draymond Green used to play for the Golden State Warriors. He then became an anchor for ESPN, and they asked him a specific question, and he gave his opinion. It was about a player.
Tampering.
Yeah, and so he said the X, Y, and Z team should just let this player go. He should go play for this other team and let that man be. He was then fined $50,000. And all of a sudden the story gets covered and they're like, oh, $50,000's like nothing. But I found it interesting because I was like, wait a second. Isn't that why you got Draymond Green? Is because he likes to poke at things that no one else is poking at? He's like a modern day Charles Barkley in some form. And it's like they like to, bring up abrasive conversations, but it's like it's interesting because it does get everyone else thinking, not in that same direction. Everyone wants to talk about super positive stuff. It's not saying that it's negative, but it's a point.
It's a combination of things. I think Draymond got fined. I think he's still on the roster for the Warriors, so that's why he got fined. And that is its own point about your relationship with your employer and what your employer should be allowed to do to you. That's psychotic. If it was anything other than basketball, the idea of an employer fining their employee $50,000 is psychotic.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, imagine a nurse.
Yeah.
You would bankrupt people.
If
McDonald's could be like, hey, wrong shoes, $50,000, bang. but you don't think about that. No, and there is a ton of control because the media and because has gained a bad reputation, rightfully so, and the internet is a dangerous place to even have a video of you up, no matter what you're doing. If it could be construed any which way, so there's a general mistrust, and brands, they're so ahead of this media stuff than most of the general public. If you interview a civilian, most of the time it's very boring, tedious, and they're not used to it. You talk to anyone who works at a major brand or anyone who with any type of persona, they kind of and you can watch them when you interview a politician. You can look them in the eyes and see them working like a computer. It's tick, 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 tick. What can I say? What can I say?
Yeah.
And I've noticed that with interview experience. You just have to break them down. You have to be ready for it, and that's my only skill, is that I am so good at the BS and understanding the BS. And the best skill I have is a detector for what is marketing and what is not marketing, because that's the hardest question with anything. Because when you're interviewing anyone, there's an agenda, there's a point.
Sure.
Like, I'm here to promote my stuff. Just the sheer existence of me being on a thing is here to promote stuff. I'm not here because I'm here for that. That's what I'm here to do.
Sure.
But that's super clear.
Yeah.
A lot of other people are very not clear about their motives. This is cut and dry. I have a thing. I want people to see my thing. I go on a thing.
Yeah.
Other people, they're like, if I go on a thing, I can make more money.
Yeah.
By taking the water out of the lake.
Yeah.
And selling it. And just like, if I could slowly manipulate people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Once that starts to be the motive, or once you become someone starting to sell something, it's important to be able to sniff that out and be able to just throw them off the rocker. And the 2100 idea works well for that, because it makes you question your own mortality. So if anyone is talking on some nonsense, I just go, how long do you think you're going to live? Do you think you're going to see 2100? And they go, oh my God, I'm going to die. And then I can get them off the rocker and talk to them about something else.
Yeah. So it's interesting that you say that, because of two things I want to ask you with technology. Just to rewind back, there was something you said. It was interesting that you got to almost be careful what you say because it can get chopped up into things. And Joe Rogan was a perfect example of that. Joe Rogan obviously has his own podcast or whatever, but he was also the host of the UFC and all this other, stuff. He has so much content out there that someone had the ability, and this is what I mean when you can use your talents for something negative or positive, and that's why I want to get your spin on. Someone took the time, I don't know why or how you have this much time, but they spliced up however many this guy has literally thousands of podcasts. They spliced up every single one and made him basically give a negative message about the current president or whoever. And he's like, I've never said that. Give me the source. I've never said that. And they're like, Joe Rogan, that is your voice. And they played it, and it was Joe Rogan's voice. But they had him say, I, or whatever. And then the next word is hate. And he said that on podcast episode 100 you, and then he said something about Donald Trump's hair on something, but they cut out and put in Donald Trump, and they're like, you said I hate Donald Trump, why? He's like, I never said that. And then you get when Kobe Bryant passed away, someone had the brilliant absolute skill to chop up videos of Michael Jordan going in for a layup and then transforming it into the same basically move, and turned into Kobe Bryant. You're like, holy smokes, both are genius, and both use them. One was good, one was bad. What's your take on that?
Well, that's the whole world of deep fakes and like this intense editing model. There are ways to verify some of it, but it's all, once again, the general public and their understanding of things. Most people can't find a green screen in a movie, let alone a deep fake. My mom doesn't. These people are media illiterate. They're getting their news from, like, if you look at the URL, there's typos. There's typos in the article. There's. Trust me, I don't have my faith in the public is shaken. Deepfakes will confuse people, and they will cause harm and cause issues, and they are unstoppable. I accept that a lot of issues are unstoppable. Anyone with more than 10 hours of content can have a deep fake made of their audio. And anyone with 10 hours of video can have their video manipulated. So it could happen to you, it could happen to me.
Absolutely.
And it just you have to have a track record. It's the same thing that happens with anything else. Anytime you get accused of something, anytime anyone yells at you, I'm always ready for that. I'm ready for the smoke. Let's have the conversation. What I do? Because I do stuff. I mess up. I say bad things and mess up. I do not claim to be perfect. And so when I get accused, I usually listen. But then you learn, and then you grow, and finally get to the point where. So if you live a good enough life, you shouldn't have to worry. But it is all very scary, because there's stuff like. Whenever I think of the deep fakes, I think of A, deep fakes, and B, 3D printing guns. Those two things will be enough to make the future very strange.
So you talk about growth, right? Have you ever scrapped the whole idea before? You're thinking initially, maybe something happened in between. You didn't finish, but you went to go back to it, and when you went back to it, you're like, maybe I shouldn't produce it or publish this.
I scrapped journalism. I scrapped the whole idea of me being a journalist at like the age of 23. And then just lanes opened up, and I got lucky. And I stayed. Both things are true. I'm a hard worker, and I got lucky. That's what it has. It's what it takes to get you on a newspaper, I guess.
Absolutely.
So I scrapped the idea of being a journalist. The television show that we went into production on, I wrote the pilot, scrapped it in 2018. When I'm driving with a photographer, she goes, I can't write anything good, but I want to make a TV show. And I go, I have a TV show. Now we're making a TV show. So you don't ever scrap an idea wholly. I'm a big proponent of just write it in the Notes app. Just keep it in the Notes app, and if it's worth coming back to, you'll come back to it. And if not, it'll grow. I've got so many things that are like, now I've got so many outlets that it's plug and play. I go, I got this poem. Would this poem be best read aloud in the podcast? Would it be best just take a screenshot and throw it on IG story, or do I want to put it in a book, or do I want to have someone say it in a TV show, have him be sincere, and then hit him with a pie at the end, and then it's a joke? So you can place things in little places, but it's all about giving yourself the toys and the versatility to do that.
I love that. You did mention you wrote a book. Can you explain a little bit about is it out? Can people get it?
Yes. Life of a Giant is out. You can buy it on Amazon. I self-published a book when I was 22, which I do not recommend, because I was drinking a lot, and the things I say are very aggressive.
Yeah.
It was very angsty. I was young.
Yeah.
I think it's like $10 on Amazon. I don't really push it as much because, when you got enough stuff, people will find it,
Yeah.
And I'm not making billions off book sales.
Sure.
I'm trying to get my bag elsewhere.
Yeah.
It's nice a book exists. It was vanity, and it was like, no, I can't get published. I can't write. What do I do? Write a book. I can't make a newspaper. So it's just kind of finding out what to do. But the book, Life of a Giant, well, let's see if I remember the elevator pitch. It is a book that can be read front to back or in little chunks.
Yeah.
It's got 3 sections and 3 different types of things in each section. So the sections are introduction to who I am, relationships, and then society. And then intertwined are a combination of poetry, narratives, and essay.
Nice.
So you can pick it up and read part of it. You can put it down. You can, and it's the ramblings of a crazy person. But I'm a good writer, so it's fun to read.
How'd you come up with the title?
Life of a Giant. It is a metaphor.
You a Giants fan?
No. It is a combination. So there's a poem in the book called Life of a Giant. It's a metaphor. Giant is essentially mental health issues. So I talk about how the nature of like bipolar disorder, which I don't even have. I just have bipolar tendencies, it's just mood swings, and I'm fine with it. But the idea is that sometimes you feel larger than life. And then sometimes you feel small, but even when you feel larger than life, you don't fit in because, like, the giant is a metaphor.
Yeah.
So, Life of a Giant.
I like it. I like it.
I got the artsy fartsy side. You saw the socks.
Yeah, I love the socks. Almost shorter, different colors too.
Yep.
But the new show. So this October you're going to start. Can you explain a little bit? You gave a little bit.
I'll give a little bit. So it's essentially the Yo Show.
It's little appetizer.
Yeah, it's called the Yo Show.
Yeah.
It is a satire. It's an educational satire show. Because I always wanted to cross both lines. You never read or watch or hear a thing I do without learning something.
Nice.
But it's also going to be funny, but actually funny.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to have that be a TV show. But it's a satire, educational satire. 4 episodes in North, South, East, and West Philly. So there's no East Philly, so that'll be the Northeast.
Sure.
And then every episode has themes along with it. And it's a combination of teaching people about the area in ways that I know it because I'm a journalist. I lived in North Philly because of Temple, live in South Philly, and my family's from there, worked in the Northeast, and then West Philly, I got friends. That's the one I know the least, but whatever. Sure. I don't have to bat 1,000. So it's a combination of jokes and education that has 3 characters, and there's a story arc. So it's all very exciting.
That's cool.
But it will be highlighting stuff that, once again, like all my other work, that people aren't talking about. It's things that don't really get addressed. Like there's a place in South Philly that it's a house that the Underground Railroad led to.
Oh, wow.
People don't talk about it.
Yeah.
And even when I come to Bristol Borough, I go, why isn't anyone talking about how nice Bristol Borough is?
Yeah.
No. So, the show is definitely going to be interesting. I'm excited. It's going to be, so if you're looking for feels, what it's going to feel and look like, combination like what the old Daily Show used to be like, where there's a guy at a desk throwing to correspondence, but also like the Eric Andre Show, more chaotic vibe, and then like Tim and Eric with the quick edits, quick cuts.
Yeah.
But it'll also be educational too. So it's going to be all that nonsense and all that chaos, but in between we'll be weaving narrative and information.
That's awesome. Nice. Do you look up to any particular writers, or were you influenced, I should say, maybe by anyone particular, whether it's whether it's a comedian or someone who put scripts together?
It's comedians and rappers.
Yeah.
Comedians and rappers are my big 2. I grew up huge on rap. I didn't read growing up.
Yeah.
Do I look like a nerd? I read now because it's cool to read as an adult, lame to read as a kid. That's growth.
That's growth.
If you're a kid, drop the book, grab a ball. Grab the book when you're older at the beach. It'll look distinguished. People will love it. And
you have to get the old circular.
Yeah, and you'll become literate. It'll be great. No, but I started reading late. I never really knew what writing was or knew the intricacies of it. But that's the thing is I'm self-taught and everything.
Yeah.
So that's why I have a style. Everyone wants to sound like their favorite. I don't have a real favorite. I don't read books like that. I have a couple favorites, but I've only read 2 or 3 books by them because I've got ADHD. How many books could I read?
Yeah.
You hear all this other stuff I'm doing? Who's got time? But there are. I'm reading a lot of Edgar Carrot, who has this really surrealist style of short storytelling. It's all fiction. I read him. He's amazing to read because the ADHD friendly, quick bursts, yada yada. Really, really like witty stuff. But I started reading him when I was 24. I'm not inspired by him. But like the greats like Dave Chappelle, Lupe Fiasco, Wale, like those writers, like the penmanship that you can acquire, like even Lil Wayne. Like you can sleep on Lil Wayne. Everybody loves codeine. No, not everybody loves codeine, but he loves codeine. He loves codeine and skateboards. I don't. But the things he says, like some of the wordplay, absolutely. I do tons of that in the newspaper. I'll be sneaking in weird little wordplay and entendres just because. Why not? You know, I main motivation other than anger is I think life is so boring and monotonous. So just mix it up. It doesn't even have to be good. Just mix it up. Do something. Entertain me. If I can make an article flow like a song, just using rhythm, like literal word rhythm, like while you read, which I do a great job. And there's the best thing I've ever written is an excerpt in my book where everything rhymes. The rhyme pattern is insane, and it goes for like 7 pages, and I'm talking about Syria and their GDP. I don't even know what I was on when I wrote it. I look back and I go, I'm never going to do anything like that again. I don't know how I did it, but I was so proud of myself. But that comes from rap music and comedians because diction is important, like how you talk. Like if you can teach yourself like big words. Anytime I see a big word or an interesting word or a word that's not used, I try to remember it. Like I'll share one with you and the people listening. There's a word ennui, ENNUI. It means a feeling of listlessness and hopelessness brought by the monotony of everyday life or your job. Great word.
Right.
4 or 5 letters. And you never seen a UI at the end. Right. A great word. But I'm trying to sneak the word ennui into writing without making it pretentious, because once again, I'm trying to be the everyman. So you can't be using words like ennui. So you have to know where you are, know your audience, know how to talk to people, and that's half the skill of writing, is being able to talk to a guy on the street and impress a government person 100%. Or a mayor.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you watch things, whether they're short films or movies, are you? I love asking creatives this question. It's like, are you really paying attention to what they're doing, or are you just kind of like breaking the thing down, right? Because you did mention earlier, if your mom's watching a movie, she doesn't know where the green screen is, right? But you do, because you can pick out certain things.
I'm vicious with it.
Okay, because we've had writers, or my brother Miguel, he could be watching a basketball game, and we're all yelling for the score, and out of nowhere, he's like, "That's a terrible haircut." Out of nowhere, we're like, what? We're not even looking at that, right? But are you looking at like just oddities like that?
I'm a freak like that. When it comes to media, I'm the media guy. I notice all the media stuff, and I also hate brands and I hate marketing, so I'm always paying. So in sports, I go crazy watching all the brands, just and they're paying, and I know how much money they pay because I've sold marketing. So I see ad placement, I see Cheetos tucked away in the corner. I go, $10,000 wasted.
Wow. What about the patches on the jerseys?
That was inevitable. If you ever watched soccer or NASCAR, you knew that was coming if they ever needed a buck. And the second the salary cap went up, you gotta throw something on there. You gotta offset that cost, even though the profit margins that they operate at are psychotic. So I never feel bad for a company that owns a profession. Oh yeah, I feel bad for a billionaire. Right. Never. Not me. I got other stuff to worry about. I gotta focus on me. No, and especially with movies, I hate the news. The television news is so hard to watch because perfect example of why I hate the television news. There's a homeless encampment on 22nd and the Parkway. I have been covering the homeless encampment since the second night there. I went there. I was getting interviews to make a video for that Status Quo outlet or whatever, and I air the whole interview, no matter what. I can put the whole interview up because it's YouTube. And if people want to watch a homeless person talk for 5 minutes, they'll do it. Television news, they show up, they do pretty much the same word for word 10-minute interview, cut it to 20 seconds. They do a lead in where they say, "We were down at the encampment, 10 seconds. This is what they said." And then it's raining and it sucks out here and we want housing. And here's some socks and a Gillette commercial and yada yada and blah blah blah. It's not news. You're not learning anything. You're not learning. Yeah. You can't learn anything. And because there's too much stuff's going on, you can't do it like
information overload.
Yeah. And if you're blasting commercials in between, you just lose all of it as it goes. And then on top of that, then it gets even worse with movies and how movies are written.
Yeah.
It's all terrible. It's all. Most stuff is bad, and I've got no problem saying that.
So another question I have for you is, how does one balance, the work-life balance, or for you, is it just kind of one whole, big, mush, so to speak, and you just kind of operate in that direction, and if you have a family gathering, you end up there at some point, sometime, and you dip off and you do your thing?
It is important to keep a balance. Like I said, I've been forced to compartmentalize everything. I'll have to be a bar back and I've never worked one job at a time. So right now I'm at Phillips Steaks. I'm literally a fry cook on the front page of the newspaper. It doesn't make any sense. You'd think that the talent and the prestige would come with the money, but it doesn't. Right. It doesn't. You cook fries, idiot, which I'm fine with.
Sure.
But you have to do the stuff. I would never. If anything ever became too much of a hindrance to me, I just wouldn't.
Yeah.
Because everything I do is based off passion. I want to have a TV show. So my hobby is making a TV show, and I plan to profit off the hobby.
Yeah.
But also I get to play basketball, do yoga.
Yeah.
I got a girlfriend. Yeah, things are cool.
Yeah.
But it is definitely hectic to be around me. It is definitely, I'm thankful for the people that are in my life. I don't work a regular 9 to 5. I move very, I'm in Bristol Borough. I've never been here before.
Yeah.
I'm the type of guy that on a Tuesday, I'll take off on my own, not tell anyone where I'm going, and go to Bristol Borough and do this. My parents don't know where I am. Nobody knows where I am. And it's not their business, because I am a big believer in freedom.
Yeah.
Not even in the traditional sense, but just like the idea is that you don't know anybody anything. Just pretend it's 1920 and you couldn't tell everybody where you are at all times. Just
exist. Such a cool thought. Yeah.
Because that's most of time. I got people texting me like I owe them responses. It's like, this didn't exist 20 years ago. What fantasy world are you living in? This is the 1% of time that this has existed. I'm not folding to these fake rules. I understand that everyone else is. You could really accept stuff, but I refuse to accept a lot of stuff that I just don't agree with. I'm very opinionated.
Absolutely. So if there's someone out there listening who looking to either get into writing, marketing, journalism, what advice you have for someone who's just starting out?
If you want to catch a bag without being talented, marketing. If you want to work in writing, I really suggest hit the gym with your brain.
Sure.
Write. Just write. A lot of people look for reasons to write. Yeah. Me, I had enough stuff I could put it in a book. Yeah. I have got movies that I've never shown a person before that are just movies, and I've got all this stuff just sitting in Google Docs and notes. It's got nowhere to go because I love to write. I like to say funny things. I like to come up with little bits and things I'd like to see come to life, because for some reason I have the opportunity to bring the stuff to life.
Yeah.
But it's easy for people to feel, you feel stupid writing. It's like anything else. It's kind of like running as a fat man. Not that fat, but I'm fatter. When you start running as an overweight person, you feel stupid. Mm-hmm. The first couple steps, it feels stupid. You go, I'm not a runner. This isn't what I do. This is uncomfortable. And that's anything. You feel dumb the first few times you do anything.
Sure.
So if you want to be a writer, sit down and write. About what? You got to pick that. That's how you decide who you are. If you're not if you don't have enough ideas, don't be a writer. Yeah. If it's hard to write, you're not a writer.
Yeah.
Sorry, or work at it.
Yeah.
Just until you have the idea. It's just, you'll know if it's a good idea or not. Yeah. But if you only know if it's a good idea to you or not.
Right.
You don't know how other people are going to perceive that idea, and it hurts. And I've had my feelings hurt a lot of time. A lot of people don't answer my emails. I've asked Shaq to be on my show. Why not? If you can find an email that seems like it might be Shaq's agent, you're going to email Shaq's agent. I just got the invite to come on my show, copied and pasted. I'll throw that at Shaq. I get thousands of no's and a couple of yeses. But if you do that over years, a couple of yeses ends up, it's a yes from the man who invented the foam finger, and for some reason that impresses people.
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely.
you never know who's going to want to talk to you. You never know who's going to want to read the thing you have in your brain. But I always say my motivator, like my main thing, is just don't do the thing everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
If everyone else is already doing, it's easier to beat the competition if there is none.
Yeah.
So just hit the lanes that you see open, and Google, see, once you have an idea, Google, see if anyone's doing it.
Yeah.
And then if they're not, follow through. Be the first, because there's a lot of people doing the same exact thing. So many. Like, when's the last time you saw a movie that wasn't a remake or like an exact rendering? People were begging for Friends to come back. Give me a new show. What about an octopus and his best friend's a wheelbarrow? What about that? What about a guy who's got no legs at a post office? What's his life like? Give me anything. I don't need to see a house be remodeled. I know how to remodel a house. I'm not interested. How many shows about remodeling houses do we need? Pawn shops, all these things. They've got billions of shows. For some reason, like creatives you go on the internet, you got a billion kids on YouTube who are making these like aliens fly on green screens that cost like $10. Yeah. But meanwhile, we're stuck watching. How many seasons has Family Guy got? Yeah. Has anyone even seen a new Family Guy episode? They're still making them. It's crazy out here.
Yeah. So if anyone wanted to reach out to you, how can they? What are your social media handles if you have any?
JasonAdjacent.com or go to @JPeters2100. That's 2100 @JPeters2100 on Instagram and Twitter, or JasonAdjacent.com, or type in JPeters2100 on YouTube. I got tons of stuff there. I never plug the YouTube, so check that out. And the podcast, 2100 podcast. Read Philly Weekly. Support local creatives, and don't hit people. Don't hit each other. I was gonna say don't hit women, but I guess don't hit anybody. Just don't.
That was so random. I love that.
You wanted to say a positive message. Got it.
That works, man.
That was perfect. I got like watery eye. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. We like to close things out with quotes. The first one by Thomas Edison. Many of life's failures are people who did not realize how close they were to success when they gave up. And the second one by Steve Jobs. Your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living with the results of other people's thinking. Right away in this episode, the crew welcomes special guest Jason N. Peters. We cover topics that range from content creation, journalism, writing, effects of COVID-19, and much more. We wrap the episode up with quotes from Steve Jobs and Thomas Edison. Awesome. Guys, thanks again for joining us. The Rotated Views podcast was produced for self-development purposes. Huge shout out to our sponsors. This episode is brought to you by the Blessed Lifestyle brand. That is BL3SSED.com. Also sponsored by The Motivation Files Unleashed. This motivational mixtape will be your fuel for success. Available on all platforms. Guys, don't forget to visit the website, JimmyleeVelez.com. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram @RotatedViews. If you have any inquiries or questions, email us at info@JimmyleeVelez.com. On behalf of myself and the rest of the crew, we wish you massive success. Stay blessed.